Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Chip's Cabinet, where we take what we have and see what we can do with it. Today we're going to do a scallops casserole. I've got about a pound of scallops, which is 80 to 100 count. And this is sort of a reprieve for me because the last time I did scallops, I made kind of a mess and I ended up with scallop soup. Hoping to avoid that this time. I've rolled out the ingredients and have everything ready. So let's put everything together and see what we can do. Okay, so this is called scallops casserole. So there we have our scallops. Again, that's 80 to 100 count scallops. These are the small ones. These are my seasonings. I'll read you the recipe and then I'll tell you what I use because I didn't have all the seasonings. The recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of butter melted. That is right there. 1.5 pounds of scallops. I've only got a pound, so we're just going to do a pound worth of casserole. Half a cup of breadcrumbs, 1/4 cup of Parmesan, 3 cloves of garlic minced, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of parsley. Now again, I don't have all those things, so what I did was I took a look at my cabinet and I came up with what I have. I looked for things like onion powder, paprika, and parsley in the ingredients, and this is what I came up with. First of all, we've got some chili powder, and more of that blackened seasoning. You might have seen that on my pork chop video. Oxtail seasoning, which has just a plethora of spices that are going to be wonderful with this dish. Of course, Parmesan, cheese, breadcrumbs, and everybody's southern favorite, Old Bay. I didn't like the amount of butter that yielded just based on the recipe, so I took another 1/2 tablespoon. I'm melting it right now, and I'm going to add that to the butter that's already in the skillet. Once everything's melted down, I'm going to add the scallops, put on the breadcrumb, which is all these spices here kind of mixed together, and I use my own measurements to be honest. We're going to put that in the skillet, and it's going to go in a oven that is set at 400 degrees. And we're going to cook it for 20 minutes. Okay, so once the butter is melted, add the scallops, and I just sort of coated them around, rolled them around in the skillet a little bit to make sure there was an even amount of butter on every scallop. But I want to draw your attention to my spice mixture really quick. You added minced garlic to this, about 3 cloves, maybe a little more. It's up to taste. When I added the minced garlic, however, I noticed that it was kind of clumpy, stuck to one area. So I smashed it up with a fork and mixed it around a little bit more. And then I just made sure I blended everything thoroughly. Once the oven is at 400 degrees, we're going to take this concoction right here, the casserole. We're going to pour it on top of our scallops. And then we're going to place it in the oven at 400 degrees for 20 minutes. Okay, if you've done everything correctly, and I hope I have, don't know, I've never made this before. Assume this is what it should look like. You'll notice I also do not have a casserole dish. I'm making do with a simple deep skillet that's actually oven safe because it's got a metal handle, and we'll see how that turns out. It smells wonderful. There might be a little too much garlic. We'll see if there's such a thing as too much garlic. But I wanted to draw your attention to something. I'm a firm believer in cleaning as you go because I don't like to deal with a big mess after I cook. So if you'll see, I've cleaned up the stove. I've cleaned up the dials on the stove. This is where I had all my ingredients laid out. All my spices are put back in their homes. Cleaned out my sink. Everything's nice and good. So all I have to do when my meal is complete is sit down and eat it. By my calculations, we should be done, and this will be our scallops casserole. I have no idea what a casserole is supposed to look like after it's done, but this is what I got. We'll see how it tastes. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Chip's Cabinet, where we take what we have and see what we can do with it. Have a good day.